I want to start this by saying I'm going to start this new series I've been thinking about doing for a while. One where I like to see the life lessons and applications and things generally we can learn and apply in our lives from the fictional stories and media that we consume. Because I feel ultimately that's the real main purpose of media and why we have storytelling. It is to impart wisdom. It is a medium to impart wisdom and a way to improve our lives. So, as you can see, the first person we're going to talk about is Anakin Skywalker. Darth Vader. My opinion, the most iconic movie villain of all time, and one of my favorite characters ever. I think we all know what the backstory is, so I'm not gonna get too much into it. I guess what we can start with first is like, what exactly can we learn from his character? What can like a regular guy like you or me learn from his story, his fall, what he went through? And I think the first thing we can get from is really the need for acceptance. Because the whole reason he fell to the dark side in the first place was because his fear of loss. He was afraid. The thing that really tipped him to the edge was his fear of losing Padme. It was really an act of desperation, which then turned into a psychological rationalization of all the horrible things he ended up doing. So I feel the main reason is that, again, he couldn't accept the fact that his attachments eventually won't be there. Like, death takes all. And he couldn't accept it at all. So I feel, and I disagree with like the Jedi philosophy in that you shouldn't have any attachments. Because at the end of the day, we're all attached to something. There's no way you can't be attached to something. Like, you can try that, sure, but I don't feel like I used to think that was the answer, right? Oh, you have to remove all attachments. But I feel like a better answer is more of an acceptance. Like, you have to work on yourself and really realize that the things you're attached to, people, places, things, won't be here anymore. It's scarce. And it's a scary thought, right? But at the same time, I think what we can do is kind of find comfort in that it is that scarcity, right, that gives it value in the first place. If everyone was immortal, what would be the value of human life? What would be the value of doing anything? Like, we think permanence creates value, or we think permanence is the only thing that gives it value, but no, actually, in fact, it is that scarcity that gives it value. And I feel generally, like, again, like, it was his attachments that caused him to act rash. And this is what we can get into the next point, is that he wasn't thinking clearly. He was acting too rashly. He didn't really sit down and, at least I don't feel, really reflected on why he was afraid of the things he wanted. He was, the whole movie was him in conflict with himself on whether or not he should take the deal with the devil. Sidious. And another thing we can take from this is, again, like, don't act rashly. Like, I know sometimes it feels like the emotions are there and they're strong, they're intense, they're extremely intense. But I feel if we just take a deep breath, calm down, and just sit with ourselves for a few minutes, and maybe like grab a journal and write down what the problem is, and then realize why we feel the way we do, we'd all have a better reaction. Because this gets into another issue is when we act rashly on emotion, this gives room for other people to manipulate us and take advantage of us. You know, like Palpatine, he used Anakin's own emotions against him and teetered him to the edge, which caused him to then make the choice to betray everything he did and live a life of suffering. So be wary of people who, what's the word? Who placate you. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like it's something intuitive that we feel like a bullshit meter we have when someone's trying to woo us too much. And I feel like you can see this, and this gets into another issue if like you're like blind to your own pride and ego, and then other people can take advantage of that. I feel as if Anakin only took a second and thought about the things Palpatine was saying, and that's the other thing, you have to carefully listen to what people are saying and kind of ruminate on it and really journal on why they're saying the way they're saying. Is it really because he cares? Or is there something else at play? You see, be wary of others trying to manipulate you. And I think another lesson we can learn is, again, is this fear. Really, fear is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest hurdles we as a species have to overcome. Because fear makes us do irrational things, makes us do mistakes that we wish then we can take back. So really, it is this fear that we have to conquer. If Anakin wasn't afraid and he accepted his fate, then whatever would happen would happen. Yes, I know it's hard to lose someone, but at the end of the day, they will be gone. And you will too. And for a lot of my life personally, I've struggled with that, but now I've kind of found a sort of acceptance. In that, yes, you'll be gone, but at the same time, right, the pressure of living is gone too. This grief will pass. If not in your lifetime, certainly with death. But yeah, I mean, and another interpretation is you can say, oh, maybe we should let go of all attachments because attachments create suffering. If Anakin wasn't attached, he wouldn't have done what he did, and then people wouldn't suffer. But again, like, I think humans are just naturally attached to things. There's only, you can only take it so far, I feel. And I feel like the right attachments, not removing all attachments, but having the correct attachments, specifically, I think, to something immutable, external. Because Anakin's whole world revolved around Padme. You know what I mean? It's like if he had something else, like a bedrock. I think this is why people believe in God is because God is this immutable entity, right? Like, even if I lose everything, I still have God. So I think having something like this kind of helps us cope in life with things that happen. I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's something psychological with us. But yeah, if like, I mean, this is kind of corny, but if Anakin's whole, like, if his world mission purpose revolved around maybe serving like the principles of saving others, then maybe he could have coped with what could happen to Padme later on. I don't know. This is weird, but I feel like this is what we can learn from him. And I think a final lesson is mainly in pride. The whole reason he lost the duel to Mustafar was his pride. And his arrogance got the best of him. It gets the best of us a lot. And I think, again, like the thing we can take away from this is one of the best practices is just sitting down and analyzing and reflecting ourselves and thinking, why do I think the thoughts I think? Why am I attached to this? Why do I fear attached to this? Is there a way to kind of remove this fear, cope, kind of accept what will happen? And I think through this and really trusting yourself to find a way. Like, yeah, just literally just sit down in a quiet room, maybe write things down, but just sit down and think. Take a deep breath, calm down, don't act rashly on emotions. Kind of analyze yourself in a third POV. It's like, okay, I feel this. I feel this dread about what could happen in the future. And then think cosmologically is like, okay, but at the end of the day, whatever will happen. And I mean that in the point that at the end of the day, like, this is why I say so much we have to kind of internalize our mortality, because it puts a mindset in you where, like, it's for me, it's like a coping mechanism where I feel fear, but then I remind myself, I like take a deep breath and I remind myself, eventually, right, I won't be here and I won't have to worry about these problems. So, like, maybe if Anakin worried less about figuring out a way to save Padme and more about, okay, if she does die, what can I do to kind of maximize the amount of time I spend with her? You know, kind of remove the suffering in a way. It's like, kind of like with cancer patients where it's sad, right? But you wouldn't just like go on a tirade and be like some evil scientist trying to create the perfect body or whatever, but more like kind of accept it in a way and then say, okay, but so what can I do to kind of get I mean, this is kind of a cold way of looking at it, but like get the highest return on investment. And I think that would be just him spending time with his wife and doing reflections and accepting what can and will happen. Like, for example, like, I know my parents eventually will die. And it's a sad thought. And we don't think about it a lot, but it happens. So I think, and when we accept this, I think, okay, so what's the best ROI to reduce the amount of suffering I have? And that would be spending more time with them, spending as much time with them, spending as much meaningful time with them. So that when the time does come, I don't think, oh, I should have spent more time, I don't live in regret. And really, it's like you kind of have this paradox inside yourself where you have to accept it and think, it's not that deep, but then think, but it is really that deep and I have to take my time seriously. But yeah, that's what we can take from, I think, Vader's story is don't act rashly. He should have taken more time in self-reflection instead of thinking so much on what should I do, how do I save her, what can I do, the fear of loss, the fear of that pain of loss, really, and kind of ostracizing yourself. And I think he built his whole identity around the people he attached to, and you're not the people you love. Like you're not, like, there are people you're attached to, there are things you're attached to, but you're not those things. You're not the people you surround yourself with. You're an individual. You're related to them by either being a son or a father or a husband, but that's not you. You are just a conscious person. And when we take this outlook, it's like and when you take the outlook that all you need is yourself, I think it forms a better way of coping. So yeah, generally, what we can take it around is don't act harshly, don't act rashly. Take your time, analyze a lot of the emotions and thoughts you have. Watch out for other people trying to take advantage of your rash emotional states. Watch out for arrogance you have. And yes, I mean, really, like, this whole video can be dumbed down to sit down in a room, write down your thoughts, look at your thoughts or your experience and ask, why do I feel or react or think the way I do? And how can I kind of mitigate the suffering around this? So yeah, thank you for watching.